Well, welcome to a new week. It's a Tuesday, a little bit different. Just a couple of these per week right now, and we'll see how things go. But above all, I just want you to know I'm glad you're with me today and taking a moment. And so, as always, invite you to pause. Grab a cup of coffee or whatever you want to do, or just pause for a moment and let's think together. So come on into my little world for just a bit. You know, there are a lot of ugly words in the world. There are a lot of four-letter words that we don't utter. We teach our children not to. Sometimes mouths get washed out with soap because of them. I won't mention anyone in particular in that case, but it has happened along the way. We recognize there are things we're not supposed to say. But not all four-letter words are ugly words. Love is a four-letter word. And it's a beautiful word when it's used well, used appropriately. In fact, Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 13 that the greatest of these and all the things that we have to offer is love. But among those three is another four-letter word. Among the three great qualities and most needed assets of life is another four-letter word. It's the word hope. I think it's interesting that Stephen King, in the movie adaptation of his story, The Shawshank Redemption, allowed the use of a phrase. There are many quotable lines in that movie, many quotable lines that are just kind of outstanding. But one of them that stands out is when Andy Dufresne leaves the word for red. And he reminds the old convict, now a parolee, hope is a good thing. Maybe the best of things. And a good thing never dies. Don't you love that line? It's great. You don't have to examine it inside and out. It just makes you feel good to recognize it. Hope really is a good thing. Not hope that's wishful thinking, but hope that is a reality. Hope that is tied together with faith and love. It really is a good thing. Because you kind of stop and think, without hope, why do we go forward? When we use the other form of the word that's got a few more letters added to it, that says something is hopeless, that means we gave up. There's nothing left. There's no reason to move forward. Hope is a progressive thing. Hope is a thing that looks forward. Hope is a viewpoint of life. Hope is a realization that we have something great. That's what we need to see it. We need to understand it. Yes, it's right in the movie. Hope is a good thing, regardless of where you've been, regardless of what's going on round about you. Hope is a good thing. When we look at life around us and we see troubles and such, when we see people that are having serious problems, do we just throw our hands in the air and give up? No. I was noticing this morning a picture of a slum in Rio de Janeiro. And in the picture of that slum, there were clotheslines. And on the clotheslines, there were clothes hanging there. There were no people being viewed in the picture. I believe it was in the early morning hours. The lights were beginning to come on in the area. But in looking at that picture, I recognized there were clothes hanging on the line. People were living their lives. They may have been in poverty. They may have been in real hardship. They may have been dealing with things that many of us will never face in our lives. But every day they got up and took care of business. They washed their clothes. They hung them on the line. They took them in and they wore them again because they had hope. Maybe they're never going to be out of that slum. Maybe they're never going to go very far. But there was a reason to move forward. And living our lives and accepting where we are, the one thing that keeps us moving forward is that love that we have of people, that faith that we have in God and one another, and the hope that progressively drives us. those three things form a triad of a great aspect of life. Hope is a four-letter word, you're right, but it keeps us moving forward. You know, it's said of the patriarch Abraham in the 18th verse of Romans chapter 4, who contrary to hope, in hope believed. It's talking about the promise of God that he would have that son. Isaac would come after 25 years after the promise, long after he and his wife had pretty much given up on having a child, but yet God promised. And in his 100th year, at 100 years of age, Abraham had a son named Isaac. Hope. Even when named Isaac, which means laughter, there was still that hope. For the promise of God came fully home to Abraham at that point. Hope is that thing that helps us to hang on. Hope is that thing that drives us forward. Hope is that sense of reality that says, yes, there is a reason to believe. Yes, we can express our love. Tied together, that four-letter word, hope, pushes us forward. So on this Tuesday, in this great week here in the month of May, I want you to recognize that there is, beyond all that's going on around about us, a great reason to have hope. Many reasons are out there, but the best one is God's still there. His promise is still there. And maybe others would say there is no hope. So, contrary to that, let's have hope. Hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. I hope it's a tremendous day for you, and we'll look forward to sharing some other things a little further down the road, but I'm blessed, and I hope you feel that way too, and I will plan to see you later. Thanks again.